Welcome to This Horror Real.
Someone was already breathing behind me when I opened my car door after work, and I didn't realize another person had been hiding inside my car for hours until the dome light flickered across my rearview mirror. I froze with one foot still outside on the pavement and my hand locked around the door handle while this slow, shaky breath came from directly behind my seat. At first, I honestly thought it was a jacket or some shadow from the parking lot lights. Then the shape shifted. A face leaned slightly forward between the headrests, not smiling, not talking, just sitting there in complete silence like he had been waiting for me to get in and shut the door. I had just finished closing at the restaurant where I worked. It was around 11:40 p.m. and the parking lot behind the building looked almost abandoned. My manager's truck was still near the kitchen door, but every other employee had already left. The only other vehicle nearby was this old white van parked crooked beside the dumpster with no lights on inside. I remember feeling irritated because my phone battery was at 11% and my charger cable barely worked anymore. I unlocked my car from across the lot, saw the lights flash once, and walked toward it without paying attention to anything else. That's the part I keep replaying in my head. Nothing looked wrong. No broken windows, no open doors, no movement. My car looked completely normal. The first thing that felt off was the driver's door. When I pulled it open, it didn't make that tight sealed sound it normally made. It opened too smoothly, almost like somebody had opened it recently and never shut it all the way. I remember stopping for a second because I always locked my car before shifts. Always. Especially in that parking lot. The backside of the building had no cameras. Some employees got their windows smashed there twice last year. I leaned down to toss my backpack into the passenger seat when the weak dome light flickered overhead. That's when I saw the reflection in the mirror. Somebody was sitting in my back seat. I stumbled backward so fast my heel slid off the curb. My keys almost fell out of my hand. The man didn't rush me, didn't attack me, didn't even move much. He just sat there in the dark with his shoulders low and his hands somewhere near his lap. Then he quietly said my first name, calm, casual, like we already knew each other. That scared me worse than if he had screamed. My car beeped softly because I accidentally hit the panic button halfway down. His head turned slowly toward me after the sound. I could barely see his face, but I knew immediately I had never seen him before in my life. My hands were shaking so badly, Face ID wouldn't work on my phone. I backed away from the car while staring through the windshield. The man leaned slightly forward between the front seats without taking his eyes off me. He still hadn't stepped out. That somehow made it worse. It felt like he belonged there. My battery dropped to 9% while I tried calling my manager. The phone rang inside the restaurant, but nobody answered because he was still counting registers in the office. I started yelling his name toward the back door while keeping my eyes on the car. Then the dome light inside my car suddenly shut off by itself, and for a second I lost sight of the man completely. I ran toward the restaurant entrance and grabbed the back door handle. It wouldn't open. The lock always jammed when it closed too hard, and I had accidentally pulled it shut behind me earlier. I hit the metal door with my fist and yelled again. Then I heard a slow creak behind me. Not from the building, from my car. There's a sound your own car makes that you instantly recognize, that low hinge noise from the driver's door opening wider. I turned around slowly and saw the driver's door hanging completely open under the parking lot light. The back seat was empty. At first I thought he had crouched down somewhere inside the car. Then I noticed movement beside the white van near the dumpster. He was standing there now, tall, hoodie pulled up, hands hanging calmly at his sides. He hadn't run. He hadn't even looked nervous. He just stood there watching me from beside the van like he had all the time in the world. The parking lot suddenly felt way too quiet. No traffic, no voices from inside the restaurant, just the buzzing light over the back door and the sound of my own breathing. Then the man slowly lifted one hand and showed me something small and silver. It took me a second to understand what I was looking at. Then my stomach dropped. He was holding my spare car key, the one hidden in a magnetic box underneath my rear bumper. My dad made me keep it there in case I ever locked myself out. Nobody was supposed to know about it. The man tapped the key against the side of the van twice, like he wanted me to hear the metal sound clearly. Then he said, "You should really move that hiding spot." The way he said it made my skin go cold because it meant this wasn't random. He hadn't discovered my car tonight. He already knew it. I finally heard the restaurant door unlock behind me. My manager stepped outside, looking annoyed until he saw my face. I pointed toward the van, but the man was gone again, completely gone. My driver's door still hung open, and the interior light flickered weakly inside the car. My manager grabbed a heavy broom handle from inside and walked with me toward it. I didn't even want to get close anymore, but my purse and apartment keys were still inside. When we reached the car, my manager stopped and looked confused. The passenger seat was pushed farther back than normal. Then he picked up an empty water bottle from the floor near the driver's seat. It wasn't mine. The bottle was still cold. My manager checked the trunk while I stood several feet away, trying not to panic. Nobody was inside anymore, but the back floor mat was covered in damp dirt and crushed leaves like someone had climbed in with wet shoes. There was also a strong smell in the car now. Cigarettes mixed with sweat and cold air. My manager reached under the passenger seat and pulled out a folded gas station receipt. The timestamp on it made my chest tighten immediately. It was dated 2 nights earlier at 1:13 a.m. from the gas station near my apartment complex. I had been asleep at home that night. Then my manager found something else shoved between the seats, an empty food wrapper from the same restaurant where I worked. The police searched the parking lot, the dumpster area, and the van, but nobody found him. They dusted my car for prints while I sat shaking inside the restaurant office, charging my phone. One officer eventually asked me something I still think about all the time. He asked if anything inside my car ever looked slightly different before tonight. I started remembering small things I ignored for weeks. My seat feeling slightly warmer than normal after work, finding my mirrors adjusted wrong once. My radio volume changed. Loose change missing from the cup holder. Tiny things I explained away because they sounded ridiculous. Suddenly none of them felt ridiculous anymore. My manager drove me home because I refused to touch my car again. The entire drive there, I kept checking behind us, expecting that white van to appear. We finally turned into my apartment complex. The sprinkler system was on. Then I saw something that made me feel sick immediately. Wet footprints crossed the concrete walkway near my building entrance. Fresh ones. My manager noticed them too. They stopped directly outside my downstairs apartment window. That window faced my parking space. When we got closer, I realized the screen was bent slightly outward like somebody had pressed against it recently. I sold the car less than 2 weeks later. I changed my locks, stopped working closing shifts, and started checking my back seat every single time I got inside any vehicle. But the worst part happened 3 days later when the police reviewed another security camera from the neighboring building beside the restaurant. The footage showed me parking for work that afternoon around 3:52 p.m. Then, about 10 minutes later, a man wearing a dark hoodie walked calmly across the lot, reached under my rear bumper, unlocked my back door, and climbed into my car. He never came back out. For almost 8 full hours, while I worked my shift thinking my car was empty, somebody had already been hiding inside, waiting for me to come back. If this story made you look toward your back seat, double check your locks, or rethink those little things that suddenly feel wrong, subscribe to This Horror Real, because the scariest stories are the ones where the danger was already there long before anyone noticed it.